The following is a project of our nonprofit newsroom. Support Midcoast Morning and local community-centered journalism today by signing up to be a monthly sustaining donor at chly.ca/donate. It doesn't take much money to support local news.
Hello and welcome to Midcoast Morning. I'm Joe Pugh. Art is in the air this weekend in Nanaimo. It's Artwalk Saturday and Sunday, giving you the chance to head downtown, meet local artists, and check out their work. Today we're going to be delving into the stories behind some art around town. You might have seen David Martinello's new sculpture, Compelling Agency, which was recently installed in the Old City Quarter. Plus, we'll hear why having her banner design chosen to mark 150 years of the city of Nanaimo was a homecoming of sorts for Amy Pye. We'll also check in with the Code Youth at the Nanaimo Art Gallery for a preview of their exhibition and some tips on how to navigate Artwalk. Let's get right into it.
My name is David Martinello, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist that generally uses the nature of wood to explore its embedded gestures and as a way to inform my own.
You've said you're hoping your sculpture, Compelling Agency, can create lots of dialogue among people who live in and visit Nanaimo. What kind of conversations do you hope it sparks?
I'm hoping that it develops a relationship to the environment by considering the materiality and wood as a resource. It's a way to engage with the landscape and almost have it become a node to the materiality of the world and existence in general. So this gets a little bit woo-woo, but it really stems from the experience that we've all had of standing underneath the canopy of a tree and bending down and picking up a stick to appreciate its beauty. So there's that experience, but in that experience, there's a very strong emotive connection that we have to wood as a material. So in that connection and pivoting off of that connection, there's an ability to see the connection to the environment, the natural world, but also a connection to the materiality of existence. So it's a way to connect with a lot of different things by considering the relationship that we have to wood as a material.
So we're talking on the radio right now. Obviously, there's no easy way to show people this sculpture. Could you maybe describe Compelling Agency for folks who haven't seen it yet?
Yeah, this is a question that I've been asked. I've got a pen pal back east right now, and I was reluctant to describe it just because it's such a succinct idea. So it's a powder-coated aluminum frame in the silhouette of a tree, and suspended in the middle is a cedar slab. So over the years, that cedar slab is going to weather and change, and right now it's a beautiful orangey color because it's freshly cut, but in time, that's going to turn gray. So it's a simple design. I showed a picture of it to one of my woodworker friends who's a very pragmatic person and doesn't really have the emotive connection that I do to wood. And he simply said, "Oh, you've made a tree." And I love that because it was so succinct. So it's even though it carries complex ideas, it's a very simple form.
Was the choice of cedar as the wood specifically, were there certain artistic considerations to that?
In the most part, it's just simply pragmatic. Cedar weathers well. It doesn't tend to rot or carry bugs. There's the First Nations perspective that cedar is life. I mean, I acknowledge the land that we live on and its connection that First Nations people have as a provider for so many things. And then also I had to take down a tree in my yard, and I happen to have a cedar log in my yard. So there was a lot of things that kind of made it come to be. And I just happened to have the perfect log to mill up and have a plank for the sculpture here on my property.
I'm curious about that. The idea of taking the wood from a log on your property, and maybe some of what you were talking about with the relationship we have with wood. What was that experience like? Was it different than maybe a normal cutting down a tree?
Well, I had to take this tree down a couple years ago. So again, that's the advantage of cedar. It was still in perfect condition. With my art, I do abstract assemblages and print and conceptual sculptures and formal sculptures and all kinds of different things. So really getting into the agency of wood. So this one was kind of straight down the line, with no pun intended. I was just looking for a slab of wood that would fit within the parameters of the metal frame, and just happened to have the perfect one here, so that the wane, which is the live edge part of the board, really worked with the form of the sculpture. So it was good in the respect that it was simple. Usually I make things a bit too complex. So
Can you tell me about the name Compelling Agency?
yeah, so it's kind of a double entendre. So it's compelling us as viewers to engage in it, but it's also it's the compelling nature of wood itself. It has its own agency. So agency is a word that I use often to speak to the essence of wood and its own value and its own stature and its own presence, and giving it a sense of self. And so combining those two words together, compelling agency, is kind of a call as well as a way to just consider it in its own terms.
You're listening to Midcoast Morning. We're talking some local art on today's show. My guest is David Martinello. He's the artist behind Compelling Agency, the new sculpture you might have noticed at the corner of Fitzwilliam and Wallace Streets near the Old City Quarter. Does it come down to maybe the idea that wood as part of a tree is like a living thing in a way, but once it's in the sculpture, it's aging, it's no longer alive in that sense, but it still maybe has a connection to that?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of layers in that, because I mean, a lot of people still consider it a living thing, even though technically it is no longer growing anymore. So that's something I have to think about more, actually. To see it within temporal terms is I guess I can frame it in a different way. A lot of my sculptures, I'll use a green paint, and use the tropes of green in order to speak to the legacy of wood. And I think that's one idea that we're circumventing right now is the legacy of wood. And so considering its agency is not only as it stands as the sculpture, as it ages in time, but also where the wood came from, and the fact that it was a seed, it was a tree before that. It's the life cycle of not just that one of the sculpture and as it stood as a tree, but the environment in general. So it's placing it within a context that goes beyond the whatever staunchness the sculpture has standing in place. I mean, it's I guess that's to go back to your earlier question about compelling agency. It's to think about how it exists within a context, not just as something onto itself.
And the sculpture is going to be on display until 2027 as part of the city's temporary public art program. What's going to happen to it after that?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's available for purchase after that. There is the option for the city to buy it and find a permanent home for it. I'm also kind of thinking, where can it go in my yard too? So it's one of those things that I'm not getting there yet, because I'm super excited to just see it weather in place, because I was actually thinking about this last night. Is if I was to bring this home, I've got years of energy and life that it has as it exists and evolves in Nanaimo. There's a spirit to that I don't even know how to account for yet, because it's not happened yet. I need to watch and see how it evolves and grows. It's going to be, I'm really excited. It seems like something almost banal, just seeing a slab of cedar weather in time, but just the way it's framed and the context that it's in, I'm pretty excited to watch this weather over time. So
the idea there is that the artwork isn't just the sculpture itself, but it's the sculpture in the context of where it is, being in Nanaimo, enduring the weather maybe for those 4 years, that's the environment is also a part of the artwork.
Yes, absolutely. It's an expression of the life in Nanaimo as much as it is an expression of itself. And I can't wait to see what happens to it. I mean, even just the backdrop, the wall of ivy behind there. I mean, I installed it the other week, and there was still a couple of green leaves, but it was mostly red, and it's changed. And I saw an earlier picture, and the wall, obviously in the spring, is just a blanket of different colors of green. So I mean, there's not just as it evolves, just standing on its own, but evolves as how the Lion Square Park there that it's in, it's evolving too, because I know the engineering department and the landscaping, they had to adjust some rose bushes and move them around in the park too. So the park's going to evolve around it as well. Look up into the mountains. I mean, it's part of that too in some respect. So,
and you're going to be at Compelling Agency down at Fitzwilliam and Wallace Street Saturday at 1 p.m. as part of Nanaimo's Artwalk to chat with people about it?
I will indeed. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to share with everyone there and give it a bit more context, and I'll be open to questions as well then.
Anything else you'd like people to know about the sculpture?
Just spend some time with it and watch the lighting and the shadows change, because it is a kind of a temporal experiment, and there is an evolution to it. It's going to change, and it's going to be affected by what you bring to it and what the environment is expressing of itself in any particular time too. So it's an evolving piece, and check in with it more than once, because it's going to change.
David Martinello is the creator of Compelling Agency, the new sculpture located at Fitzwilliam and Wallace Streets in Nanaimo. As we mentioned during the interview, you can find David at the sculpture as part of Nanaimo's Artwalk, Saturday at 1.
Midcoast Morning is made possible by the Community Radio Fund of Canada's Radio Meters program and listeners like you. Support Midcoast Morning and CHLY's nonprofit newsroom today by becoming a sustaining donor at chly.ca/donate. Local news can't survive without your support. Another way to help us out is to share this show with your friends and tell them why they should support us. Finally, if you're listening to the podcast edition of Midcoast Morning, go and give us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast feed you use. It helps people find us.
It's not the first time Amy Pies won Nanaimo's annual street banner design competition, but she says this one feels the most meaningful. Her colorful design will grace our streets starting next spring when the city marks 150 years since incorporation.
My name's Amy Pye. I'm an artist and designer, marketer here in Nanaimo.
And what was your reaction to finding out that your banner was chosen as Nanaimo's 150th anniversary design?
Oh, I was so excited. It meant a lot, probably more so than it has before. I have won a couple times before, 2019 and 2020, I believe. And it meant a little bit more this year than in other years, partly because of the 150 significance, but also because I recently spent some time away from Nanaimo. I was living briefly in the US, and I returned a few months ago. And so this kind of felt like a welcome home kind of symbol in a way. It's kind of almost a literal banner waving of welcoming back to my hometown. So,
and I want to get into some of what you mentioned there, but I think first it's important for people, we're talking on the radio, we can't see the banner. Could you just tell me a bit about what it looks like?
Sure. So I think it's a really fun color palette. It's kind of purple, orange, gemstone kind of jewel tone kind of colors. I incorporated the 150, of course, but in a very visual way. So it's not obvious right away that they're numbers. They're kind of comprised of different elements. Like I've worked in, landscape and animals and this kind of thing. My focus was really to show balance So I wanted to show kind of some opposites of like what makes up Nanaimo. So there's farmland and there's cityscapes. There's ocean and there's air. There's sea animals and land animals, this kind of thing. And I just really wanted to show that balance because I think that's part of what makes up the beauty of Nanaimo.
Yeah, when you sit down and you're trying to design a banner that represents Nanaimo, maybe what are the first things that pop into your head?
I mean, I really wanted to stay away from the first things that popped into my head because the first things that pop into my head are things like the bastion. You're very typical. Like the Nanaimo has a lot of symbolism that we see a lot. So I really wanted to stay away from those things, but I wanted to represent more of the thing. One thing about Nanaimo is just the nature, right? We live in a beautiful place. And I really wanted to try to portray that in the banners.
Is there anything maybe specific to the banner as an art form that people might not realize?
Logistically, there are some limitations and there's some tricky things. Like you want to stay away from verbiage, for example, because one way it's going to be backwards. So that's part of the reason too for not being super literal with the numbers. And making them more like design elements. You're limited on a color palette and that kind of thing. So there's definitely some restrictions that way, showing detail, but not being too detailed, things like that. There's lots of those kinds of things to keep in mind.
And can you tell me a bit about you mentioned you've previously won the banner designing contest. I think a lot of people might not even realize like there's a banner design contest every year. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the first one I won was in 2019. That one was really cool because I actually designed it when I was at the very end of my pregnancy. And then I won it when my daughter was a couple weeks old. So it was kind of cool timing that way. For me, it was a really special time of my life. And then I won it again in 2020. That one was also a really weird time too, because that was like with COVID and everything. So I don't know, these banners for me have all kind of come up at interesting milestones in my life. So
yeah, you talked about in a blog post on your website about how this one kind of helped you, seeing the contest helped you get out of maybe a bit of a creative lethargy or like brought you back to art and was a very healing process to actually design.
It really was. I've been through a lot of changes recently and I really hit like a strong like creative block where I just didn't even want to pick up a pen. Like before that, like I've written a couple of children's books. I have a third one in the works and I didn't even want to look at it. Like I've just hit this total block. And then this competition came up just at the right time. And I work really well with deadlines, and just having that goal or that deadline to work towards really helped bring me out of that funk.
Is Artwalk this weekend in Nanaimo? I'm just wondering if that's something you've ever participated in, and if you'd have any tips for anyone how to get the most out of Artwalk.
I haven't participated before. I will definitely be attending. My daughter and I will be checking it out. But yeah, I hope to participate in it probably next year.
And can you give people a sense of where they're going to see the banners, when they're going to see the banners around town?
Yeah, I believe they're going up early spring. And I know for sure Bowen Road is the big. I know there's some other areas too. I'm not sure where exactly, but Bowen Road is one of them, which is exciting for me because I drive up and down Bowen every day with my daughter on the way to daycare. And she's 4 and she got to see me designing these banners. So for her to see them now, like out in the real world, I'm really excited for that. It'll be fun.
Oh, what do you hope? What do you hope people think of when they look and see these banners next year?
I hope that, they think about the things that they appreciate about Nanaimo. I think it's very easy to take for granted the beauty of where we live, when you're in it every day. And I know for me, leaving for a brief time and then coming back, like I have a new appreciation for where we live and how beautiful it is.
I was curious about that. Are there any maybe specific things, specific spots, specific places, times of day, anything that you found you really missed when you got back and were super happy to be back at?
Yeah. So I grew up in the North End. I live in the North End now too. So I'm, a big fan of Piper's and Neck Point. Those places are really beautiful. Lanceville has some beautiful spots too. I live really close now to Long Lake, and especially like Golden Hour by Long Lake is just, you can't beat it. It's just beautiful.
Is there anything else you'd like to bring to the conversation today?
I'm really excited for the banners to go up. I'm really honored to be working with the city again. Thrilled to be, visually representing this momentous occasion, and just honored to have the opportunity.
Amy Pye speaking about her banner design, which has been chosen to mark Nanaimo's 150th anniversary since it incorporated as a city back in 1874. Pye says you'll start to see the banner around town next spring. The 25th annual Nanaimo Artwalk is this weekend. Saturday from 10 to 4 and Sunday from noon to 4, you can find art and artists at venues all around the city's downtown. One of those venues is, of course, the Nanaimo Art Gallery. Among their exhibits will be works from the Code Youth Collective. I reached collective members Sarah, Victoria, and Sloan, and their coordinator Yvonne, who shared a bit about their work and gave some tips on how to navigate Artwalk.
We have a lot of exciting things happening in Art Lab as well as in the gallery space itself. I think I'll just start it off with mentioning that our current exhibition with Charles Campbell and Ocean to Livity is also an opportunity for people to come and check out. And then, of course, the youth are so excited about their exhibition that's coming up, titled Moved by Material. And I'm going to let them talk about the projects that they've been working on.
So far we've been working on our main expedition project, which is a collaborative piece between 2 to 3 people. And it has been going pretty good. It's probably going to be one of the best pieces in there. What is it? I can't say anymore. We're leaving it a surprise.
Ooh.
But all I can say is it's sculptural, and we let the objects choose their direction of path.
Do I have it right that folks will also, as part of the experience, be able to design some of their own creations?
Absolutely. There's an interactive component in the exhibition, and that's really exciting too. So not only will folks get to see the experimentation by the youth with their sculptures and painting and drawing, but they're going to be, folks are invited to make their own kind of temporary sculptures. Who wants to talk about that, Sloan?
They're called ready-mades. The whole thing of it is that you can make your own sculpture with materials provided by the art gallery, and then they will later be taken apart. You take a picture of them after you're done with it, and you can post it on Instagram with the hashtag Nanaimo Art Gallery or adding Nanaimo Art Gallery.
Just for the listeners, the ready-made is a object-based sculpture that started over 100 years ago with the Dada artist. Sarah, why don't you talk about your sculpture?
It's called Breaking Free, I think. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, Breaking Free.
That's good. Breaking Free. It's just breaking the expectations of society and the normal everyday routine and letting creativity back into your life and breaking free of societal norms and social norms and expectations.
Yeah. And what about you, Sloan?
Yes, I am also in the group, the same as Sarah, with our project Breaking Free. I'm not going to say too much about it. You'll have to come see it yourself.
Would you have any tips for folks who haven't done an art walk before, what they should do, how they should navigate things, what the best way to kind of plan their Saturday afternoon is?
The best scenario would be picking up the brochure either at the front. I'm pretty sure the gallery has a couple.
Loads. We have lots of Nanaimo Art Walk brochures.
Yeah, and just enjoy the art and let new perspectives open up your ideas of art. That's what art's mainly about. You push the boundaries, unbreak the frame, essentially. I would recommend going to the art gallery first. It's a great place to start.
I think there's about anywhere from 40 to 50 artists on the walk in the downtown area. So Sloan is right. The art gallery is a great place to start. We have about 30 or 40 brochures for the art walk. And in there's a map and a list of all the participating artists.
Anything else you'd like folks to know to best enjoy Artwalk?
Honestly, take your time. Don't rush it. You have 2 days. You can come early in the morning. Well, it's not early in the morning on Saturday, but you can come on Saturday morning and then come on Sunday if you don't finish it all. But take your time and look at each piece. Just enjoy the piece.
And you can also just take pictures, get inspiration from the other artists, and you can always come back, like Sarah said. It's one of the probably best things about the art walk is that they run it over a 2-day course. That way you aren't totally rushed for time.
Members of the Nanaimo Art Gallery's Code Youth Collective talking about Nanaimo Art Walk, which is taking place this weekend at venues all around downtown. You can find out more information at nanaimoartwalk.com. That's our story for the day. Thank you for joining me. I'm Joe Pugh, host and producer of Midcoast Morning. Jesse Woodward is our executive producer, and Arby Frew is our technical advisor. You can sign up for CHLY's newsletter at chly.ca, subscribe for updates from our nonprofit newsroom, and more. Our theme song is First One by local Nanaimo band Waste Management. If you have a story you would like us to cover, email us at news@chly.ca. That's all for now. I'll talk to you on another Midcoast Morning.
Midcoast Morning would not be possible without the funding of the Community Radio Fund of Canada's Radio Meters program and listeners like you. Midcoast Morning is a project of CHLY's nonprofit newsroom. Support nonprofit journalism in Nanaimo and on the Salish Sea today by becoming a monthly sustaining donor at $5 or more per month. Support the program at chly.ca/donate. If you're already a supporter, record a voice memo telling others where you're listening from and why they too should support our work. After you're done, you can email it to us. Also, share the podcast with your friends. While Meta is blocking Canadian users from sharing news content on their Facebook feeds, you can still share our podcast directly with your friends via Facebook or Instagram Messenger. Finally, this program acknowledges and gives thanks to the Nanaimo First Nation as we broadcast and podcast from their traditional territory. Thanks for listening.